Good morning. Welcome to Up to the Minute. I'm Todd Duplantis, and it's good to have you with us on yet another Monday morning. But hey, we've made it to April, next stage of this year. And what's the weather going to be like this week? Well, it's going to be a mixed bag from what we hear. But one thing for sure, we'll be here 4 days this week. It's a very short week because of a holiday weekend coming up. So it's good to have you with us. My co-host this morning, Dr. Nicholas Cox. He is the Dean of our History Department Chair, I should say. Good to see you, Nick.
Thank you, Todd, and thank you for that promotion.
I was going to say, I promoted you. Congratulations. Yeah, why not? Why not? Hey, Nick, thanks for being here. Did you have a good weekend?
I did. It was a nice weekend. I went and saw a movie. I spent some time with my son at a percussion competition. I spent another bit of time with my other son who's adopted a hound rescue pit bull. Just a lot of relaxation and hanging out with my sons mostly.
You got a lot going on up there with everything this weekend. Well, we got a short week this week, as I mentioned, but you can catch us all live through Thursday, of course, at 10 a.m. this week on Facebook and YouTube. And Nick, they can also catch us in social media anytime and on HCCTV.
That's right, Todd. We are live on the Houston Community College District Facebook page and on YouTube. We're also on Twitter, LinkedIn, and HCCTV at noon, 5, and 10 p.m. Monday through Friday, but I suppose that's Monday through Thursday this week.
That's right. This week it is, so keep that in mind. Okay, stick around because it's Music Monday as well as Mental Health Monday. But Music Monday, our special guest is Dr. Yoojin Lee. She's a professor of music and the Visual and Performing Arts Center of Excellence. We got a spring student music recital coming up, Dr. Lee. Is that correct? Let's see, can we get you to unmute your mic? There we go.
Sorry about that.
Yes, spring student recital coming up shortly.
Yes, it is. It will be on April 18th, which is a Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. at our Stafford Performing Arts Center Recital Hall.
Okay, so we're going to hear all about that, and maybe would you take some requests if we throw them your way as well?
We'll try.
We'll let Nick handle that part. All right. Stick around, Yoojin. We'll be with you very soon. Okay. Mental Health Monday. It's a Monday. And joining us every month, Dr. Sean Fitzpatrick is the Executive Director of the Jung Center of Houston and our Mental Health Monday guest. Welcome back to the show, Sean. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for having me back. How are you doing, Todd?
It's not bad. Can't complain right now. Of course, it's a Monday, of course. So back to a shortened work week. But today we're talking about something I guess we all have to establish at one point or another, especially in relationships. We hear about keeping good boundaries, making sure your boundaries are there, but also have a solution to a wide range of problems. So maybe you can tell us about boundaries and how do we set them? What does it all mean?
So, boundaries, just like so many good ideas that have emerged in mental health, boundaries, it's an image, right? It contains an image in it. And, to the best of my awareness, it emerged in the 1980s as a way of talking about how we determine where we begin or where we end and others begin. So the American Psychological Association has a definition of it, which is that it's a psychological demarcation that protects the integrity of an individual or group, or that helps the person or group set realistic limits on participation in a relationship or activity.
So here's the big question, because what's the difference between setting a boundary and say, you know what, I just don't want to do that?
They can be one and the same. And saying no to something is an example of how, it's one way that we can set or maintain a boundary with others. The broader idea, I think the easiest way for me to think about it is just think about our skin, and really our skin is the first boundary that we experience as children. And early on, we don't necessarily understand it as boundary, because when we're contained within our mothers, right, that boundary doesn't really exist. It isn't until we're born till we might have some awareness of it. There are ways in which we are separated from others with this, with this boundary of our skin, and it does get penetrated, right? So because we breathe and we eat. We make choices about bringing things into our bodies. But, when we experience trauma or abuse as children, that sense of our skin as a secure boundary can get really disrupted, right? And we learn that others can push through that boundary of our skin. We lose a sense of bodily autonomy. So it can be, as I said, it can be difficult to know where others end and we begin.
Is it normal as we become adults to establish more boundaries as we go on with life, whether it be through growing experiences, trauma, as you mentioned, maybe failed relationships, things like that, to where as you reach a point in your life where you're like, I'm not putting up with this any longer, and this is where it's the buck is going to stop?
Yeah. It's unfortunate that sometimes that is the way it happens, but of course that's the way it happens. And then we would learn where our limits are by having them be intruded on. But I want to talk about a sort of problematic phenomenon that I'll own as part of my own, sort of makeup, which is we may be familiar with trauma responses that include, fight or flight. So there's an attack coming, and either we fight, we prepare to fight, or we run away. There's another called freezing, right? Where we literally just stop so that hopefully, the predator or the abuser doesn't see us. There's yet another one called fawning. And fawning is, I think the best sort of synonym for that is people pleasing. So in order to create a sense of safety, we will do everything we can to be in the good graces of those that might actually be abusive or might invade our boundaries. Our way of maintaining a boundary is kind of by not maintaining a boundary. It's by taking responsibility for the way others feel. And, and again, this is something that I have been working on a good bit of my life. Like I'll say yes to something I don't want to do or I don't have time for, because it's more painful to say that I can't or won't do it. And then, like you say, Todd, then it gets to a point where I just explode, like I'll explode, and it can be a little messy.
It becomes very problematic, I guess, if you keep it all penned up inside you and don't establish those boundaries all along. And then one day you're like, I've had enough. I guess that's why it leads to a lot of divorce in this. What are other ways, or second ways that?
So another way that it shows up, is a little bit on our side. So for people who have experienced trauma, we also may struggle to see others as separate from us and will unknowingly violate their boundaries. And so, this can happen in emotional ways, by lying or sort of revealing a confidence in something somebody has shared, with us. We ignore requests that people have to change our behavior, so they give us feedback and we ignore it. It can also, of course, be physical. And this is one of the reasons that people who have experienced, one of the connections we find with child abuse, and it's not in every situation, but often the perpetrators are people who have been abused themselves. They don't have a good, coherent sense of the impact that it has on others.
How do we develop good boundaries if we don't have them?
So always an ongoing work, and that we can have lots of opportunities to practice. And I'll also say, I've been talking a lot about trauma. We don't have to have experienced trauma or in a way that we remember or might be recognized by others in order to either struggle with boundaries or need to do some work on boundaries. So I'll just talk about a couple of things. The first is like the saying, no, I'm done, is a kind of a dramatic example of something simpler, which is just naming our limits. We need to get used to telling people what we can and can't do. And sometimes it can hurt, right? Sometimes it can be painful. At the end of a long day or a long week, honestly, on a Friday, I'm exhausted. I'm a pretty introverted guy. I want to watch TV. I want to doze off. And that can be hard for my family and my friends. And it's been a skill to learn over time that I have to just be straight. I have to be in bed by 8:00. You don't want to be with me past 8:00. It's not going to go well.
But that's also realizing your own faults with boundaries as well. I guess when you can say that and others can appreciate that. Like, look, after 8:00 on a Friday, it ain't worth being around me right now because I'm just not in a good state of mind. I need to get some rest. I need to go to sleep.
That's right. And a couple of connected to that, right? So when we experience discomfort, we start to notice that we're being discomfort or resentment. It can be a way of educating ourselves about our boundaries, where they are and how they've been crossed. And the other important piece of that is knowing our history. So taking some time to reflect on our childhood and how were our bodies respected as children, or how were our emotional boundaries respected as children? Were we expected to take care of others' feelings, to hold and take care of others' feelings for them? Were we expected to literally take care of people physically, or did we experience physical abuse? And once we know that, and if we know where those vulnerable spots are, those moments that were perhaps really impactful to us, we can keep an eye out for similar moments in our life, because those are the times when we're likely going to need to be the most vigilant about our boundaries and protecting them.
We're talking with Dr. Sean Fitzpatrick, our Mental Health Monday guest. He is executive director of the Jung Center. They're located in the Museum District, not far from the Montrose area. Sean, you guys have some good things going on this week out there?
Fantastic things. Two I'll mention. One is a wonderful course by Tracy J. called Words of the Work, and it takes a look at some of the language of social justice, what its origins are, and what it means for the ways we think and talk about our reality right now. I'm really excited that she's willing to offer it here at the Jung Center. The other thing is that we have an art exhibit actually going up right now outside my office. Two artists, Christy Rangel, who is a fantastically gifted African-American artist, Ibrahim Nascimento, who is a Brazilian immigrant, and that all, I think, is scheduled to be up starting tomorrow. So encourage people to just come on down to the Jung Center and visit. Our gallery is always free, and if you're interested in taking a class or attending an event, we have scholarships.
Sean, we appreciate you being here. Thanks. Have a great holiday weekend, and hopefully you can get some rest and maybe catch up by Friday. All right.
I'm looking forward to it. All right. Thanks so much for having me, Todd. Y'all take care.
Thanks, Sean. We'll have all the information on the Jung Center in our social media post after the show. Okay, it is also Music Monday, and I'm going to turn things over to Nick because you've got a special guest as well, Nick.
Thank you, Todd. That's right. We are going to speak with Dr. Yoojin Lee of the Visual and Performing Arts Center of Excellence. She is our Music Monday guest. Thanks for joining us, Dr. Lee.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Well, I have a couple of questions for you. I understand that HCC is going to be celebrating our students' achievements in classical music this year with a spring recital. It'll be in person in just a couple of weeks. I know you mentioned it at the top of the hour, but could you tell us again the time and place?
Yes, it will be April 18th at 7:30 p.m. and it will be at the Stafford Performing Arts Center in the recital hall. We are really looking forward to it. We do it twice a year, every semester, and the students have a chance to perform in front of family, colleagues, and professors as well.
And you guys had a fall recital in person at the same Stafford Southwest Fine Arts Center last fall?
Yes, we had the honors recital there. So we have different campuses with recital halls. So we rotate to get a feeling of all these different campus recital halls and different instruments as well.
To celebrate the musical students all over the entire city, not just one campus at a time. Excellent. Well, I understand audition videos are due this Friday. Do you do any auditions in person? How does the audition process work?
Because we have students all over the city, we found it difficult to have them all come to one place at one time to do an audition. And because the pandemic has opened the doors for so many online resources, we found a way to have the students submit a video recording of it and send us a link. And a panel of professors will view and determine who will be able to perform.
And after that, do you select students based on auditions to perform, or do all who choose or enroll in courses perform? How do you decide who's going to be on stage at the recital?
So the audition determines not only for the who gets to perform in the student recital, but for the honors recital that happens in May as well. We have a variety of different students from different levels, and we try really hard to give every student an opportunity to perform. But because of the different levels, students who have started earlier and then students that are new, obviously they are not all on the same level of performance. So the audition will determine several different recital settings of who to go where to perform. And the goal is for the students to really be able to experience the stage at any level. And that's what is unique about Houston Community College music department.
Okay. So I'm a band dad. My son is a percussion musician. He plays for the school band. He takes music theory classes. He's in marching band, orchestra. Students in high schools and in HCC as well take music classes towards their degrees. Do students at HCC in these music programs also compete in musical contests throughout the year as they would in high school?
Yes, it's slightly different. In high school setting, they have something called the UIL competitions. I am a band mother. I'm a band mother as well. I have 2 children. And in the college level, they have different associations offering competitions, like the NAD is the National Association of Teachers of Singers. They just had their competition 2 weeks ago. So we have piano teachers associations and different groups like that more specified with the instruments or voice alone. And we do have competitions. And actually the TMEA, the Texas Music Educators Association, they host the big conference in February. And we do have 2-year college singers that get to join in the all-state choir and have that experience as well.
Okay, excellent. I saw that there were juries for competition or performance at the end of the semester, a couple of months after the spring recitals. And I wondered if those were for academic credit at the college or for contest in these independent associations. We'll come right back to the recital in a moment, but I wanted to ask you another question. I see that you've been a competition music judge for quite a long time, including for K-pop. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. The Korean pop music has become very largely a favorite among a lot of people internationally. And it was actually a pretty big shock to me as well, because when I was in my 20s, nobody knew Korean pop music except for the Koreans that were living in the country. And here now, I mean, BTS and like Blackpink, I think they are everywhere. They have world tours and stuff. And so a lot of students, young adults, try out for K-pop competitions. I'm part of the Korean community here in the greater Houston area, and they have asked me to come judge K-pop singer groups. And it amazes me how these non-Korean speaking people come and rap in Korean and sing in Korean. It just blows my mind.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Let me bring it back to the recital in April. What have the rehearsals been like in this sort of post-COVID world now that you guys are rehearsing and performing in person?
Oh, it has been difficult. Our first in-person concerts were back in November of 2021. And I remember that because I was the host for the student recital, and the social distancing was still very real. Mask mandates were there. We could only invite 2 family members per performer, and sitting all scattered, in the stage, in the seats, and to view that from the stage. There is a discouragement there when there is not a large audience that's sitting there, and the applause are very little. And that's one of the things that we look forward to, because all the rehearsals and practices we do in the room is on our own. And when we finally get to share it on stage, we want that that sense of, I've shared it with the others. But it was to the minimal. So it was very difficult. But I'll tell you this, it's better than when we did it on Zoom. We had 3 semesters of performances via Zoom or other media resources where we were playing in front of a camera. And just like, I guess how other classes resume, it was very difficult to hold performances. However, we were able to do that, and we were able to do it every semester. And now we're back. I won't say we're back fully yet, the audience, I mean, when I go to other performances in Houston Symphony or opera, there are still a lot of empty seats. And the pandemic definitely has changed a lot of the ways that people participate in performances now. But we are getting there again. And live streaming also is a very exciting thing that we didn't know how to do until the pandemic happened. So we're excited.
Well, Dr. Lee, I have a question for you. These recitals are not just an opportunity for students to practice music and perform, but what are some of the other sort of life and academic skills that students can learn from participating in these recitals?
Music, often people say that they do for their own enrichment and all, but actually it's quite the contrary. If we don't have audience sitting out there, it's really not shared. And so these students can not only participate, but we also record some of these under student consent that we would use it for their own auditions. For instance, I had a student who was going to audition for a transfer in February, and he went back to his country to visit in the winter and broke his wrist, 2 parts of his wrist, and had an audition coming up in February. So with a broken wrist, you cannot do a live audition. And so I contacted the school and the authorities, and I told them the situation. And they said, do you have a recording from a concert that was played? And we did have some very good recordings of the student from December 2022, which was within 2 months of the audition date. So they let us actually use that instead of his live audition so that he didn't have to wait until his wrist recovered fully and was able to participate. And the student actually got accepted with scholarship. So that's a really, really exciting thing and a good thing about the concerts.
Well, online video to the rescue. I'm glad you were able to help salvage his academic career and prospects there. Well, Dr. Lee, I want to thank you again, and we all hope that the audience is more full than ever as we start to come back from COVID. So thank you, Dr. Yoojin Lee of the Visual and Performing Arts Center of Excellence, our Music Monday guest. We will link your recital information in our post after the show.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you both. We've got a few announcements to make it through before the end of the show. One of them happening for our veteran students, Veteran Leadership Program. To achieve their growth potential, veteran attendees receive a free premium executive package, complimentary assessment, and a personal action plan. It's from 5 to 9 p.m. tomorrow, Tuesday, April the 4th at HCC Southwest Missouri City Campus. Check our post after the show. All you have to do is register and attend. And if you're interested in Vocable, Nick, well, they've extended their deadline for entries.
That's right, Todd. Vocable is the journal arts and writing that HCC's Creative Writing Club sponsors, and they're accepting submissions for fiction, creative nonfiction, poetry, artwork, scripts, and comics. And that submission remains open until Wednesday, April 5th. Vocable will have a celebration on May 5th at the Houston Poetry and Arts Festival at the West Loop campus. Now, if I know anything about extended submission deadlines, it means they want your creative writing. So please don't hesitate to submit.
Make sure you get it done. Okay. Small Business Success Series. Check this out. It's free. HCC's Northwest Center is continuing its in-person workshops with faculty, business experts, and peer delegates with 2 sessions. Ignite the Entrepreneur in You. That's 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Friday, April 14th. And then on Friday, April the 21st, they've got Financials for Small Business Launch and Growth. Find out all the details and register in our post you'll see after the show. And then the Spring Drama Department production is about to launch another production soon.
That's right, Todd. A lot of great announcements about the arts today. Now, the Spring Drama Department has a production called Holier Than Thou. What happens when people stop being nice and start being holy? Former contestants recall their experiences from a reality TV show where the winner gets the powers of Jesus Christ for 7 days. 7:30 p.m. Thursday to Saturday, April 13th to 15th, and Monday, April 17th, all free, down at the HCC Stafford Campus Fine Arts Center in the Corley Black Box Theater. Registration encouraged. Info and details are in our post after the show.
And as we were just talking about, our spring student music recital is coming up, celebrating our students' achievement in classical music performance. This recital will present a program of music for different instruments and voices. It's 7:30 p.m. Wednesday, April 18th. And of course, it's free. Also at Stafford's Fine Arts Center Recital Hall for HCC Southwest College. I want to skip down to our summer registration because summer registration is happening right now. If you haven't registered, you need to do so as soon as possible. I know the courses fill up fast. Nick, if the courses fill up, can you guys add more sessions of the course based on the demand?
Yes, I do. Yes. That's one of my sort of urgent tasks every week is to take a look at enrollment and decide if there are places or modalities that need more class sections. So again, summer registration is open. HCC courses are offered in many different modalities, online anytime, online on a schedule, in person, hybrid lab, hybrid. You can learn more about HCC programs, start dates, and options for costs at hccs.edu/apply.
Okay, we're going to wrap up today's show. What we mentioned, we have a shorter week. No classes or anything going on at HCC on Friday. That means we won't be on the air. So we're packing everything in before Thursday ends. So keep that in mind. Tasty Tuesday, Thursday Family Fun Day, all that and more coming up as this week progresses. Nick, thanks for being here. Have a great holiday weekend next weekend.
Thank you. I'll see you next time.
We'll see you all tomorrow morning live 10 a.m. for Up to the Minute.